Great. Well, so Lisa and I, as you can see, are going to be tag teaming this presentation, which shouldn't go more than 45 minutes. And Lisa's going to kick it off for us. So Lisa, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. So we're going to take you through the government NDA slide deck. I'm going to try as best I can to give you what, or Jerry and I are both try to give you what the normal NDA presentation will be, but there's a few slides that have some peripheral information, and we'll give you those as well. And we will make this slide deck available to you, but we'll send it out after, because I just noticed, Miriam, you had sent another note out that we have a couple of just updates to the FAQ portion of the deck, and we want to make sure we get you the most current one. So you'll get an email after this with the most current deck that you can download if you need that. And so we will start introducing the Acrobat 11 family to you. So this first slide in the deck I like a lot. It's actually a really good slide because it's always nice to show a number at the beginning. But it illustrates the potential savings a typical customer can realize by eliminating productivity and inefficiencies in an organization or an agency in our case. And if you look at this slide and you kind of read what's going on, and there's actually some information at the bottom, a reference where we got this, you could, if you wanted to, customize this slide and basically just take the number 19,848 and multiply that by the number of employees, and that will identify the amount of annual cost savings that a customer specifically would receive for that. So that is possible to be customized, and that's something that we could definitely do as a part of the NDA discussion. So as everybody knows, documents are the currency of business, and employees are struggling to be efficient with documents, and it's costing about $20 million a year. If they could enable the workforce to be 50% more efficient, which is what we're seeing in this study, for a 1,000-person organization, this is like being able to hire another 130 people. And you can get that customized as well. So the IDC study down there actually has an equation, and if you take the number of employees in an organization, multiply that by that 19,848 number, and then by 50%, that will, and then divide that out by a salary, that'll actually give you the number of employees that could be hired, because you can make things more efficient with Acrobat. So some really good information on that. And as I said, if Jerry and I are doing NDAs with you, we could definitely customize these slides if we want, or we can just present the general slide, however we want to do that.
This slide illustrates how public sector knowledge workers are spending about half their work week creating and managing documents. And nearly half of this time, or about a quarter of the work week, is wasted on document-based challenges. And so this is based on the IDC study that Lisa mentioned in the previous slide. And so IDC found that government employees are spending about 1/3 of this time, or roughly 11 hours per week, dealing with problems that arise with managing paper-based processes. So this pretty much aligns with Adobe's own research as well. And some of the top frustrations that we hear from our users include not being able to reuse information that's inside of a PDF file, time wasted sorting through and keeping track of all of the paper, and the difficulty and the manual effort required to make documents accessible and 508 compliant, and the uncertainty they can have at the end of whether it's been done correctly. So attempts to solve these kinds of problems in the past meant implementing complex systems like CMSs or enterprise search technology, but the productivity gap exists because the tools at the individual end user level that address what knowledge workers are directly doing with documents on a daily basis are limited, and they don't address the full reality. So if you were to address just this end user-based productivity gap and make it easier to organize information, to improve the reuse of existing content in the PDF documents that they're using, and empower these users to accomplish their work more digitally instead of relying on paper, you could potentially deliver the equivalent of a 10% increase in the average organization's workforce. So we're going to go through the 3 headlining features in Acrobat right now that align with these bullet points. So the first one, and these are just some screenshots of the typical demo that you might see Lisa or myself walk through. The first one would be reusing content with a new panel or a renamed panel in Acrobat called the Content Editing Panel, which actually gives you the capability not just to edit objects, but to edit text and images. So you see when you click on this button here and you go through a typical document, you'll get kind of these grab bars around each piece of text and around each image, which will allow you to select that text, edit it, and or remove it, delete it, and that text will reflow inside of the original container. So this is a vast improvement over the previous process where when you would edit an object or edit text inside of a PDF, there was no reflow of the text or of any of the content inside of those frames. So this is going to add to the fidelity of the changes that you want to make and add to the fidelity of the document. So that's really giving the end user the capability of reusing that PDF. We've also added find and replace functionality for when you're editing text and images, and this was a very often asked for feature request, the capability of going throughout a PDF document and being able to find specific text and do replace across that text. So you'll have the capability of doing that. Also, as you can see down here in the content editing panel, there's a much expanded capability in the panel in context to do things like flip images on the horizontal and vertical axis, rotate them, crop them, and also replace them. So if I selected this image and clicked the Replace Image dialog, I could put in any old image inside of this PDF, and that would work well. So when we talk about reuse, another capability that's new in Acrobat 11 is the export to PowerPoint feature, which was also much requested. And this gives you the ability not only to export a PDF into a PPT or PPTX file, but if there are things like vector objects, bulleted lists, even tables and images, all of that will get preserved as their native format. So in this example, we see a PowerPoint presentation that has been converted out of a PDF, and there's a list of 2 bullets, and as you can see, it comes over just as a bulleted list. But what Acrobat will also do is create a series of slide masters for each individual deck that gets exported that will basically shorten the amount of time you'll need to work with your PowerPoint deck because you'll have a series of slide masters to go along with the deck. We've also given a lot of improvements in the combined file. So again, this is in the same bucket as reuse. So now instead of being able to pull these only from a local resource, you can actually pull them from an online account like a SharePoint server and pull them all directly into your PDF documents. As you can see, we're adding Excel sheets, PowerPoint, Word, PDF, and JPEGs, kind of the same way that you would with a portfolio, except in this case, we have the capability of folding all of these different types of documents into a PDF simultaneously. And as you can see, this PowerPoint deck is 5 pages long, and we have the capability right here inside of Acrobat to preview all of those pages. We have a nice slider down here so that we could actually get a much bigger slide view of each page. We could remove individual pages, put our other documents in between or before or after those pages, and it gives us a much more graphical and user-friendly way to combine and reuse our content. Now, when it comes to 508 accessibility, as we mentioned, the difficulty and the manual effort required to make documents accessible, and also the uncertainty that end users have at the end of whether or not it's been done correctly is much more mitigated through the Make Accessible action that we've added inside of the action wizard for Acrobat 11. Now, as you can see, the Make Accessible action has a number of different steps, and Lisa's going to walk through in our next set of demos the improvements that we've made to the Actions panel. But as you can see, when you have an open document that you'd like to prepare for accessibility, all you have to do is run the Make Accessible action and walk through all of the different steps. Now, these steps are not automatic, but they do follow a set of best practices for preparing your documents to be 508 accessible, such as setting the proper tab order, set the reading language, adding the tags and alternate text to the document. And so the wizard will walk you through all of those steps, and then at the end it'll run the accessibility full check. Once that check has been run, you'll get the accessibility checker panel opened up on the left-hand side, and it will allow you a much more visual and intuitive way of walking through any of the issues, the accessibility issues that this PDF might have. For example, in this document, the title failed the accessibility checker, so you have the capability with any of these nodes that might need correction to right-click and either fix it, to skip it, to explain it, to go through the options, to recheck the entire document again to make sure that the fix that you've applied works. So, we've gotten a lot of great feedback on this tool, and again, that's really going to help our customers make these documents accessible and eliminate that uncertainty that they have at the end as to whether or not the document has been properly prepared.
So as Jerry mentioned earlier, too, users are spending about half of their time creating and managing documents, and the other half of their time is spent collaborating through those documents. And a lot of that, almost half of that, is lost to inefficiencies around collaboration. So in our own research at Adobe, the frustrations we've heard from customers is that they waste tons of hours babysitting reviewers and juggling feedback, that between the lost paperwork and faxes, it takes forever to get documents signed. And sometimes in cases of our government users, that's many, many signatures that have to be on a document, and that can be pretty frustrating. And then creating and editing forms is very time-consuming. The larger issue is that general purpose applications that do collaboration are not addressing the problems of document exchange or the need to work with others in a document. So there is some things that can be done, even in the case of SharePoint, where you can do some workflow and collaboration, but it really doesn't take into effect the fact that people need to interact with the documents. And this includes things such as document reviews, data collection through forms, and getting the signatures onto the document. And if you were to address these challenges around document-based collaboration, you could potentially deliver a 13% increase in your organization's workforce just by managing collaboration around documents. And so to give you an idea of that, I wanted to give you some screenshots from Acrobat 11 as well. So comment and review pretty much works the same in Acrobat 11, and we still have the comment review bar over to the side, and you still have the capability of sending out for shared review, so we'll spend more and more time educating users on how to do that, dealing with comments in the document, and then participating in shared review, whether that's internally or whether that's with SharePoint or some other external application like Acrobat.com, which most of the time we don't use in government. But that's pretty much the same. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that that's there. Still the same, still have the comments tool over to the right to help with that. Now, from a signing perspective, if we're talking about really having a way to better sign documents, Acrobat 11 has gone a long way to make that process easier. So one of the things that I think most of you will like is that there is a new sign panel over to the right. So we have our normal tools panel, we have our comments panel, but we have a sign panel. And the idea behind that is to make things easier to sign within the document. And that's definitely something we hear a lot, especially from government customers, that it's kind of cumbersome to sign a document. If I go in now and I want to sign a document, I have the option of just adding text in, so kind of like the typewriter tool, and I can do that if I want to, or adding a check mark just to indicate that I checked something off. But very importantly, I have the ability to place a signature on my document. And when I click to place that signature, I can receive this drop down here, and you'll see that I have a lot of different options for placing the signature on the document. I can actually type a signature in, so it will type out my name in some kind of script, and I have some different options for that. I can hand write my signature in just using my mouse if I want to do that. I can also use an image, so if I've got a scanned in image and I want to do that almost like a stamp, I can do that. And then lastly, I can use a certificate, which is the way that things have really worked in the past. So the nice thing here is for our government customers, they have a lot of different options. In the past, when they were doing something like this, they were creating stamps, which you can still do if they want, to place the signature. But it was a cumbersome process in order to do that. It's much easier to do this now just by going in and picking which way you want to sign. However, if you're still going to use a certificate, for instance, a CAC card, to digitally sign, you just click that and you're off and running just like you would normally do with a regular signature. So the user has full control over how they want to sign this document. And then you'll notice on the panel to the right, they can also then get others to sign the document, and they can go through the process to do that, which includes emailing out, interacting with SharePoint, or also interacting with EchoSign, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And they can also work with certificates just specifically in one window. So for instance, in a CAC scenario, what we would probably educate users to do is click the sign and then click Work with Certificates, and it's just one button clicking to drop your signature and your certificate onto the document instead of just going in and picking which one you want. So it just is really going to depend on the customer in that case. And then the last factor that we mentioned as far as, yes?
Hey, this is Don. Can I ask just a quick question on that?
Absolutely.
If they have DRM, would that be one of the options that they can choose from?
Yes, we're probably, I don't believe we're seeing that in the current build of Acrobat 11, but yes, that would be one of the options that they could choose from. No, actually that's not true. DRM is strictly just security. I'm getting confused here. So we're talking about just signing a document. As far as signing goes, DRM isn't involved in that. DRM is only involved in the security piece.
Okay.
So they're not going to see DRM on the Sign tab. They're going to actually see that in the Security panel, and we'll show the Security panel in a second, and that pretty much works the same as it has in the past.
Thank you.
No problem. So the last thing around inefficiencies and collaboration really relates to forms and the fact that it can be hard to create forms and get forms going, especially with folks that are really inexperienced at creating forms. They just need to create a group of forms for a handful of users and get that out, and sometimes that can be quite a challenge. Acrobat 11 has done an excellent job of making that easier. You can still create a form from an existing document, like you see here on the screen, and that really works the same way it always has. If I go in and I use an existing document, if I scan in a document, whatever it is that I want to use for my form, Acrobat will automatically detect the fields and will allow me to create the fields onto the document as I need to. What we've added in Acrobat 11 is the ability to create a form from scratch or use a template. So we never really had that capability in Acrobat before. We've got that in Acrobat 11. That is made possible through FormsCentral, but there's actually an application of FormsCentral that's running locally on your machine. So when a user were to click from scratch or a template, it would open up the FormsCentral window, and then they would be able to interact. They would be able to select a template if they needed to do that, and then they'd be able to very quickly and easily build a form from scratch. This is an acro form in this case, so it's obviously not a live cycle form, but they could build it from scratch if they needed to be able to do that, drop the fields in very quickly, and then go out and distribute and collect the responses. If they're distributing and collecting, it's just like they would normally be doing in Acrobat. They could choose to do that via email, via SharePoint, or obviously through FormsCentral if they wanted to be able to do that and collect all that information together. And we're going to visit FormsCentral again in a little bit just to make sure everybody kind of is ironed out with that. And I know that that can be a question with government customers, so we'll definitely come back to this topic. Just want to make sure everybody knows that that is brand new in Acrobat 11. It's a great feature, and it does give the capability of creating very quick forms, especially from a template, faster if they need to be able to do that. So the next challenge that we see a lot of customers have is around security. And according to the IDC, nearly 25% of organizations and agencies report having experienced an information leak in the past 12 months. What we see is actually 36% of government organizations report having experienced an information leak in the past 12 months. What this says is that existing processes and methods for protecting information aren't effective. And there's a real cost that occurs with these leaks, as everybody knows. Loss of competitive advantage, customer trust, In the government case, WikiLeaks obviously have pretty much changed the way that government does business. Government customers as well, is that it's critical to protect these documents and files, especially when they leave the firewall. And we're talking about document-level security. So making sure that if their document is going to go outside the firewall, even internally sometimes across the network, it's critical that users think about protecting those documents. It's difficult for users to follow security policies consistently, so that's definitely not something that they find easy to do. Acrobat has some ways to make that better. DRM also has some ways to make that better, so definitely ways to improve that. And then hackers represent an increasing threat to our network. So definitely this is not something that's going away. We are concerned about this just as much as our government customers are, and we've done a lot within Acrobat to try to help with that. For about 90% of workers collaborating on documents with others on a weekly basis, it means that you need to ensure document security and application security. And Acrobat 11 does a really good job of that. And organizations really underestimate that security risk because folks are really collaborating with other people on a weekly basis. Either that's internally or that's externally, and that does open up that risk. And from the document security side, we've heard that users say that it needs to be more user-friendly, and application security should just be something that happens. It should be robust, it should be reliable, and not something that the user really has to worry about. So with Acrobat 11, we have gone in and made a few things easier to do with regards to security. So you'll notice here on this screen cap that I've got the protection panel opened up over to the side, and you'll see that there is a new option right up here at the top that says restrict editing via a password. And this is a new feature that's been added in Acrobat 11, and it's really just one button or one-step security. So I can click that button, enter in a password, and automatically protect my document from restrict it from editing with just one button click. Makes things a lot easier. As far as everything else goes within security in Acrobat 11, it's pretty much the same. So encryption, still there, encrypting with a certificate or a password. You can do that either way. And then this is where you would also go in and be able to have the ability to use DRM if you wanted to be able to do that still in the same way we've always done, using policies and things like that. So pretty much the same as far as that works in Acrobat 11, but definitely we've got that new feature in there to make that easier. But something that's really made better in Acrobat 11 with regards to security is the ability to be able to use actions very effectively to consistently apply policies across a document if you need to do that. So one of the actions that comes with Acrobat 11 is the prepare for distribution action. And this is a really good spot where you can go in and you can see how I could take a set of different steps that I would normally follow inside of Acrobat, put all that together in an action, which also may include securing the document, and really kind of make that invisible to the user so that that just happens and takes place just by going through the action and stepping through those steps. And the value that the user gets is consistently now those particular options, whether there's security or anything else that needs to be done as well, can be done across documents and across users. They can share that information. But the Actions panel is a whole lot easier to use inside of Acrobat 11. So if any of you remember Acrobat 10 and how Actions worked, it was great. A lot of customers loved it. But we had like a little yellow box that would appear at the bottom, and you could follow through with that yellow box, but sometimes it was kind of hard to determine where you were in the process and things like that. What they've done with the actions in Acrobat 11 is we have a new toolbar or new panel over to the right, and when I get ready to run an action, it actually opens up all the steps to the action over to the right for me. I can see what files are being processed. I can add new files right there. If I want to run this action across hundreds of files, I can do that. And then when I click the Start button, it actually starts running me through the action, and I can visually see each step in the action and where I am. But what's really valuable is I can actually pause the action if I need to be able to do that, and then come back and restart the action again later. I can skip ahead to a step if I need to do that. So it's much more intuitive, much more user-friendly as far as running actions and being able to really effectively go through all of the steps in the action if you need to be able to do that. And then finally, obviously, we still have protected mode inside of Acrobat 11 and Reader 11. And what we've done with Acrobat and Reader is we've just made this application security even tighter and even more secure. So as much as we can do to make sure that the application is secured for the user and protected and sandboxed, we've done that. We have still the same features of being able to enable that for all documents or for trusted documents only. And then when a user comes in, they're going to see this little yellow toolbar right across the top that lets them know that their application is being protected or sandboxed at that moment. And then they can enable the features if they need to, and they make that decision. And again, the nice thing there is that the user doesn't really have to know what's going on. Acrobat is handling the application security, doing an excellent job of protecting that application robustly as it needs to, and the user is just presented with that information when they need it, and then they make the choice if they want to turn that on or off.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, the last area that we want to highlight for Acrobat 11 new features is around the growth of mobile and the demand by knowledge workers in the government to be able to easily work from their smartphones and their tablets. So according to IDC, by mid-next year, 42% of government workforce is going to be mobile. And while the majority of these mobile workers have access to their corporate email and calendaring right now, many of them feel that they have not yet been enabled to work with documents while on the go. However, they would all like these capabilities. In our own research, mobile end users tell us that they would like to be able to perform tasks such as being able to comment directly in documents that they receive, electronically sign or approve their documents, and fill out and submit a form. So while there's definitely a clear demand from mobile government users to work with documents across all of their devices, it also adds further complexity into the IT environment. And standardizing on a document technology that is going to work reliably and securely across all of these devices is going to help address this IT challenge and meet all of the users' needs. So the first feature that the Acrobat team has worked on pretty extensively to assist in this endeavor is virtualization and working on the APIs, or the application programming interfaces that will allow Acrobat to be responsive to all of the different touch APIs and interfaces that you would find on a virtualized machine or on a tablet device. So what we're looking at right now is a screenshot of Acrobat running in a Windows 8 tablet environment, which looks strikingly similar to our average desktop. And what you'll notice right here is a button in the taskbar called Toggle Touch Mode. And so Touch Mode will basically engage Acrobat to use all of the different touch APIs that are necessary, such as just basic one tap, two tap, scrolling up, scrolling down, pinching, zooming, etc. So as you can actually see, when touch mode is engaged and that button is pressed, the actual taskbar buttons get a little bit bigger and more spaced out for finger touch. And as you can see on the right-hand side in the panel, I'll just go back one, you can see that the text and the touch surfaces of the panels themselves get a little bit bigger and more accessible for touch. And so that image right here is of that's of a real Windows 8 tablet. Or no, I'm sorry, this isn't the Windows 8. This is Acrobat running in a virtualized environment via Citrix XenApp, which is a virtualization environment that many of our customers use or want to use. So this instance of Acrobat is sitting on a server somewhere, and this is a user's iPad, calling up that virtual instance. And with touch mode enabled, they can do pretty much anything that they would want to do in Acrobat because it's a fully running version of Acrobat living there in their, on their tablet through a virtualized environment. So that's number one. Number two, as I'm sure many of us are aware, Reader Mobile for iOS and Android has seen an enormous amount of uptake. And in the latest release of Reader Mobile for those devices, we've added actually a whole new panel called the What's New panel that shows you what the newest functionalities are inside of that release. So as you can see, in the latest release of Reader Mobile, we've added the text tool, so you can just tap anywhere on your screen and add text to your PDF. We've added a great deal more of forms interactivity, so now field validation, calculation, formatting, forms are pretty much working like they do on the desktop reader as the author intended. And then file organization, being able to organize and manage all of your documents. So just to show you a quick iPad screenshot of what file management would look like in the new reader. As you can see, I've got a whole bunch of documents here, and what I would do is just tap on that new folder to create a folder, and I would name it, and then it would show up, and I'd be able to place documents into that folder and just keep everything very well organized inside of Adobe Reader. So that was a huge feature request that we had. And then over here, when we actually get into a document and we want to add comments, we would touch the commenting tool. Here's where you can highlight, sticky note, underline, strike through, and then when you actually touch this new text button here, you can tap anywhere in the document, add some text, right? I would add Acrobat NDA session, and then you can delete, edit, change the font size, move it around, put different color on it. So it really works the way that we expect it to, and of course all of the other great features in Reader Mobile are continuously innovated on very quickly. So that being said, this is where we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up and summarize what's new and improved with the context of each of these types of challenges. So under user productivity, again, as we mentioned, one of the most exciting new features of Acrobat 11 is this unified editing tool, which allows our users to intuitively edit a PDF file, right? Add or edit text, and Acrobat's automatically reflowing the paragraph on the page, so you can crop, resize, swap out images, so that the whole editing process is now much more simple and natural. Then there's converting PDF to PowerPoint, right, which complements the existing capability in Acrobat to convert PDF to Word and Excel. So when a PDF converts over to PowerPoint, the full formatting is maintained. It's fully editable, and even master layouts or master, think of them as template pages or master pages, are saved so that adding a new page is no different than if you had the original PowerPoint file. And then, the final piece of user productivity is actions, which save users all of this time by automating a set of document preparation tasks and help create consistency in meeting document policies. So actions in Acrobat 11 has been improved, and accessibility authoring has been significantly improved to streamline the creation of accessible PDFs that will validate against WCAG 2 and PDF UA guidelines. So this new Make Accessible action that comes with Acrobat 11 Pro makes this process much easier because it leads the users through all of the steps. So with respect to collaboration, Lisa, do you want to take that?
Sure. So Acrobat 11 helps accelerate the process of gathering feedback and approvals, as we showed. So comment and review, make that easier to interface with other people to do that. So being able to actually create a form from scratch if someone needs to be able to do that, and then distribute and collect all that data back very easily, much improved with Acrobat 11 as well. And then from an information security standpoint, as we talked about, Acrobat 11 gives you the ability to protect your application and system with a lower IT cost because it's actually protected right inside the application. And then it's much easier for users to secure their PDF, so document level security in Acrobat and also in Office. So one of the things that they can do now within Office is when you create a PDF from your Office applications, there is a new checkbox there that allows you to protect the PDF right from within Office, so you don't have to open it up in Acrobat, then go in and protect it. You can do it right within Office. So just making things more productive for the user, quicker to get things done.
And so to support working across devices, again, we've designed Acrobat 11 to be touch-friendly for tablets, and it can be deployed directly onto a tablet running Windows 8 or through virtualization using Citrix XenApp. Adobe Reader 11 is going to be available on Android, iOS, Windows Phone 7 and 8, BlackBerry, and Windows 8 Metro native. So with Adobe Reader for mobile, users can sign a document electronically, fill and save forms, add comments, and text to PDF files, and keep their documents organized.
Right. Excellent. So you've seen all the ways that Acrobat can help an agency or specifically customers. So we are now introduced the Acrobat 11 family. Now we do have two slides here, so this is just a slide note or side note for our government folks. If we're going to present the NDA, we would probably use one or the other slide. We've got this slide, and what it does is it shows the entire Acrobat family, which includes EchoSign and FormsCentral. And then we also have this slide, which just shows the Acrobat family, including Acrobat 11 Pro, Acrobat 11 Standard, and then Reader 11. And the importance behind that, as most of you government folks can imagine, is that you can leave off EchoSign and FormsCentral if you need to do that, because there are specific agencies a lot within the DoD that aren't going to be able to use EchoSign or so we definitely will customize that as we need to. But importantly here, we're really talking about all of the different applications that are available in the family. Obviously, Acrobat 11 Pro, the complete solution for working with PDF documents and forms. It has everything in it. Acrobat 11 Standard has the basic capabilities to reliably create, edit, and sign PDF documents, so they can pretty much do what they need to do. The same features that we've seen before in the past, the differences between the two, things like actions, redaction, stuff like that, and we can definitely pull that out in a separate slide if we need to. And then finally, Adobe Reader 11 for desktops and mobile devices, and as Jerry showed, it's definitely the most reliable way to view and interact with PDF documents on a mobile device. And if we're talking about EchoSign and FormsCentral, we've actually got a couple slides, so we're going to go on to that in just a second. But Jerry wants to give you, just again, a few Acrobat 11 highlights.
Right, and the truth is I'm not going to read down this list of bullets for you, because this slide is going to be for you to drop into your presentations, this one and the next one, you know, or for Lisa and myself to drop into our presentations when we're speaking to customers. What we've done in the course of this presentation is basically walk through all of these features, but this slide and the following one walks through those features kind of as a bulleted list, much in the same way in the Acrobat 10 lifetime we had, you know, SharePoint integration and export to Word and Excel. So that's where this slide is, and of course, since we uploaded it to Connect, it doesn't look exactly the way it will in PowerPoint. But so this is what the Acrobat 11 highlights slide looks like, and of course, it's got all the features that we just discussed. And this is the Reader. Oh, just a second. And this is the Reader 11 highlights. Of course, Reader 11 is iterated upon much more rapidly than the desktop tools. So, you know, Acrobat 11 will probably be out for quite a few cycles of Reader 11. We'll continuously innovate on that, and you know, push out new innovations and new you know, new features to that on an iterative process. So next is talking about EchoSign and FormsCentral, which I think Lisa's going to cover.
Right. So also in the family, as we said, EchoSign and FormsCentral do fall in the Acrobat family. This is going to be depending on whatever customer we're talking to. So obviously these slides have been put in here so that this can be customized as we need to. Giving an overview of EchoSign and anything new that's in that. Really, it's just a feature, you know, features available in EchoSign and all of the different things that users can do within EchoSign, and the different features and ways they might want to be able to use the product. So excellent slide here to be able to talk about EchoSign if anyone is interested in that. There is a strong momentum behind EchoSign. They've got over 6 million users and a long list of well-known customers, people like Google, Facebook, Groupon, things like that. And then Acrobat 11 does include the new sign pane, which links directly to the EchoSign service. So specifically, what we may have customers interested in is, what if I need to work with documents outside of my agency? EchoSign might be a really good candidate for that, and Acrobat 11 ties directly into that. So it's definitely a great use of being able to put both of those technologies together if a user needs to be able to do that. When talking about FormsCentral, FormsCentral has been out for a while, and it's definitely an excellent tool for being able to quickly create forms. And typically, probably we would see most of these customers interested on the state and local side of things, because it is a very, or a much more, I would say, cost-efficient way for them to get forms out quickly if they need to be able to do that. It's an end-to-end form service for PDF and web forms, but it is an online service, so it's a cloud service. But it is offered in multiple languages. A lot of people don't realize that, and it's pretty much, it looks like about 12 languages that it's in: English, French, things like that. And they can view and analyze the results in real time if they need to be able to do that. And then FormsCentral also does tie directly into Acrobat 11. As you saw, we can create a form from scratch. We can use templates that are up on FormsCentral, and then we can integrate with FormsCentral and distribute our forms and collect our data if we need to do that right within Acrobat.
Hey, Lisa,
this particular slide was put in. This is probably just an informational slide some of you might want to use, and it really just depicts the ways that Acrobat can save money.
Hey, Lisa, we have one quick question.
Okay.
Hey, can DoD and Intel customers still use FormsCentral without being connected to the web? So, like, if they wanted to create a form from scratch, I mean, does that limit them to be able to use this FormsCentral?
I'm still validating that. That's actually in our FAQ. Miriam, are you still on the phone?
Yep, I can answer that question. So they can use the FormsCentral desktop app without being connected to the service to create PDF forms. If to create online forms, they would need to be connected to the service. But to create PDF forms, they do not, and IT does have the option to tune the desktop app through the customization wizard so that none of the online service components are accessed, and then users can then just use the desktop app to create PDF forms.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Miriam. So lastly, this slide, as I said, is really just kind of a way that you can use some bullet points to talk about the specifics around how Acrobat can make an agency or knowledge worker specifically more productive. This pretty much comes from that Crimson case study and also from some Forrester research. So it's really, really good information. And we did see some definitely success in using this within the DoD roadshows this year. So this is a great slide for being able to depict that and give some kind of quantifiable results on how Acrobat can save money. And then why Acrobat 11? So these quotes are specifically from testing that was done with Acrobat 11, and I think the quotes are great. It's always nice to be able to see folks make nice comments about the product. I like the PowerPoint exports, bravo, good things like that. So this is definitely something we could pick or choose within an NDA if we wanted to be able to do that. But great quotes on what people are seeing in Acrobat 11 and the things that everybody likes about it.
And this is just kind of a collection of pull quotes from, well, the first three are case studies that have already been done on Acrobat. The top one is from the San Diego County SharePoint portfolio solution that they put together for their GELS program. And so this is a pull quote from the customer success story talking about Acrobat and user productivity. The City of Sacramento just put together a case study around how they are using comment and shared review of documents, and so we thought that would be fitting for the collaboration pull quote there. And so that you can basically refer to these customers as enterprise users of Acrobat who are referenceable. The Army Corps of Engineers, as everyone is familiar, they use digital signatures agency-wide, and so the pull quote that we took from their customer success story is around information security. And then Vicki Richards from the Social Security Administration gave us a nice pull quote around the improvements in the accessibility workflow that we were given permission to use there. So that doesn't emerge from a customer success story, but it was more from beta and pre-release testing that we pulled that out.
And it is important to note on this that Jerry and I actually put this slide together because this is a question that we get from a lot of you. So it's always nice to have customer quotes or customer references that we can use, and we pulled them, directly from case studies where we could. This didn't come from the marketing team, so we don't necessarily have to use this. It's also important to note that these users obviously aren't using Acrobat 11 yet. So these are earlier versions of Acrobat. It's just ways that they have used Acrobat. So if we're just strictly talking about Acrobat 11, we're looking at the quotes on this previous slide. If we're talking about Acrobat in general, it's always nice to have something that we can refer to specifically around customers, and that was the reason we put that together.